It's nefarious, man. Like, the brain works in fucked up ways.
The mind is one of the most deceiving, manipulative pieces of equipment, flesh, human bodies on earth. I never have trusted my brain.
All of that weight lives in your head, and you are the decision maker.
Psychology of entrepreneurship.
Hi, it's Ronsley. If this is your first volume, welcome. This is a weekly series where I go inside the mind of an entrepreneur, artist, athlete, academic to decipher what is the psychology of our decisions. We took a few weeks to break for We Are Podcast House Sessions, which has a story that I want to tell you. Because 3 weeks before the 23rd of May, when we delivered the world's first multi-day, multi-speaker, multi-stream podcast conference, which blows my mind. So 3 weeks before the 23rd of May, I sent an email out to my database and nobody bought a single ticket for over 48 hours. Fast forward to 10 days before the event, we had only 24 people who bought tickets and had to make the hard decision whether to go ahead with this or not. Considering this show is about the psychology of our decisions, I feel like a lot of my conversations going forward with experts will be about what was the psychology of ours. Because we decided to deliver to 24 people on the 13th of May. With that decision, I had to make my peace with the idea that a lot of my friends, my mentors, and their acquaintances would get to see how bad a marketer I am that couldn't get even 50 people to an event that has a lineup which looks like the Avengers of podcasting. Let me give you context here. We had Jordan Harbinger, who has one of the most downloaded shows on the planet, Melissa Ambrosini from Volume 21, who has over 11 million listens on her show, with a very loyal tribe, Dan Martell, who is an award-winning angel investor and advisor to billion-dollar SaaS companies with multiple podcasts, among some of the 43 speakers we assembled for this. So I really don't want to talk too much about the exacts yet, because I think I'd like to do a whole volume on that. But in short, it was Miracle May. The decision to go ahead set into motion a series of events that I couldn't have ever imagined. The outcome? During the worst pandemic in modern times, when all events and gatherings were mandatorily shut down, we ran an event for over 220 attendees from 15 countries, and all online. One of our speakers is this legend I am interviewing today, who was also speaking at We Are Podcast House Sessions. He is such a dear friend too, and just being around him makes me challenge my levels of good enough. I asked him to make a video to promote the event because I wasn't getting many people to buy tickets to coming to We Are Podcast. So on a Sunday, while feeding his youngest daughter breakfast, he recorded this.
Hi, I'm Chris Dufey, and this is We Are Podcast House Sessions. I'm super excited for you to be able to join us in the upcoming We Are Podcast, because you're going to be able to discover exactly how to turn your podcast into a client-getting machine, even if you don't have many listeners, to be perfectly honest. So we're pretty pumped. And remember, you can't find your voice if you don't use it.
Today, I'm talking with a dear friend who is probably one of the most good-looking humans on the planet. He's a coach. He coaches businesses in the fitness training world to take their businesses online. He has been doing this for years with a loyal following, and it was amazing to interview him during the COVID-19 lockdown as my first volume, that this interview wasn't an in-person interview. Obviously, the fitness industry was the first to be affected. Well, it was actually affected the most during the COVID-19 lockdown because gyms were the first to be shut down. So I wanted to start by asking him about advice for entrepreneurs during this time, the time everybody is going to remember for a very, very long time.
The world has changed. The economy has changed. There are straight out, we can call it spade for a spade, facts when it comes to that. So if someone is wanting to leave a job and they want to become an entrepreneur, there's a lot of different ways you can go about it. Some say you should burn your ships and go all in. Now, this is the problem that I see when someone looks at one person's journey, one person's story, one person's point of view, and tries to just copy it, right? Is because I'm the type of dude that will burn my ships. I did. Do you mean? For me to move from Sydney to Dubai, I sold my house, I sold my car, I gave my business and clients away. My wife was 6 months pregnant and I got on a plane to go to a country that I'd never been to see only one person I knew on the other side so I could sleep on a couch for 3 months so that I could build a business to then fly back to Sydney in time for my wife to give birth for this, to then move back to Dubai. I burnt my ships, right? However, is that the right thing everyone should do? No, God damn it, it's not. And no one, like, you've got to have this. And when someone's looking for a hard and fast answer, there is nuance to it. And it depends on who you are and your situation. And there's so many factors, to me, that can come into the proper answer for that to happen. And then there's another word. So you said patience before. Patience is very important. There's something that I think is also valid in this conversation that somebody needs, and it's faith.
Faith. What is it about faith where all religions talk about it? All authorities want to have of ours. And in my opinion, religions are authorities too. So usually when we think about a story of faith, we think about something like this.
We are talking today about near-death experiences, and now we have the story of Nancy Rhines. Nancy grew up in a Midwestern Catholic family, but distanced herself from the church and for years considered herself an atheist. But in 2014, something happened that made Nancy reevaluate her faith. We will meet her in a minute, but first, some of Nancy's story.
It was January 3rd of 2014. I'll never forget that morning. It was a beautiful sunny day. I decided to go out on a bike ride. I needed to do some errands around town. There was a little voice inside of me that just said to not go out riding that day. I don't know where that came from, but I ignored it. I got about a mile, well, not quite a mile from my home, and I could see some traffic coming in on the right. At the very last minute, I realized that first car wasn't going to stop. I knew in a flash that I was going to die right there. It was a woman driving a big SUV, and she hit me broadside. I put my hand out like this to try to veer off my bike the other direction. I ended up flipping onto the top of her hood.
Long story short, the lady talks about having a sense of non-duality during her near-death moment. Attributes it to the church. You can watch the whole thing if you'd like. The link is in the show notes, which is where, Kaylee?
Well, Ronsley, you can find that at mustamplify.com/Chris Dufey. Chris has also just released a full video documentary for fitness professionals that you can check out at fitprodocumentary.com.
Are you fed up of all the confusing, conflicting information about how it is you need to build your fitness business? The game has changed for fitness professionals to build successful fitness businesses, and it's time to keep up with the changes or you could be left behind. When I started, I tried everything to get my online fitness business up and running, and I was fed up of all the confusing and conflicting information as to what I needed to do to build a fitness business. I finally mastered this process and I've turned it into a 9-step system called the MSU method. And this is what turns complete strangers into high-ticket fitness clients. We've uncovered the real, raw, and what's working methods in the fitness industry's first business documentary.
Let's get a sense of faith. As we go through this volume, because it is quite simple to say to someone, please just have faith, it is quite difficult to implement, primarily because we don't have a method to implement faith. So we resort to the frequency we pray, or, in quotes, ask for stuff, as the determining factor of our goodness or sense of faith. Chris, What was your relationship with food growing up?
So if I look back into my history, I clearly had an eating problem. It would be called an eating disorder as a child, as a teenager, especially, in how that caused me to be overweight as a teenager. I then learnt to lose the weight, and that's why I became a personal trainer at 18 years old, because I wanted to help others go through that transformation. I then took that to the other side of the pendulum, and I competed as a fitness model in London, Denmark, and Australia. So I literally went from being super fat to being in amazing shape. And again, an eating disorder on the other side of the pendulum. I tinkered with bulimia through my last competition prep as well. And that's where I decided that this is not a healthy journey that I want to go on, where now I feel like I've found a really happy medium where I love how I train and move. My nutrition and the way that I feed and nourish myself, I find extremely easy and enjoyable, because I know the rules. I know when to bend and break the rules as well, if I could be perfectly honest, because I feel like I've gone on both sides of it, because I've come from the health and fitness world. So it's definitely been a journey for me to learn this, but it's really interesting having this discussion now with you, Ronsley, because I'm like, yeah, like I really enjoy the way that I eat and nourish my body. I feel amazing. I've got to be honest, I'm a bit under 10% body fat. I'm 103 kilos right now. I'm in shape. Like, I feel good. I'm strong. I also kickbox frequently as well and really enjoy my Muay Thai. I can move. I feel good in my physical vessel. But that's also because I know that I need to continuously take care of it on a day-to-day level as well. It's never going to be, and there are times when I'll say no to eating foods that I have a urge to want to eat, because I know that's not doing quote unquote good for me. So I know how to play that round simply because I've gone through it for so many years.
Where does your health and your habits around food sit with your priorities? According to 2013 data from the National Safety Council, around 34.42% of American adults aged 20 years and over were overweight, with another 33.8% being obese and 5.7% being extremely obese. In relation to those statistics, around 39 million workdays were lost to obesity-related illnesses each year. Australia isn't much better, with a 2017 report by the Australian Bureau of Statistics and a major study from market research company Mintel One, showing us that adults were getting around 35% of their average energy intake from junk food. Children aged between 14 and 18 were slightly worse, with 41% of their total energy intake being provided by discretionary food. The reports also state that less than 7% of Australians were meeting their daily vegetable intake requirements. Everyone's circumstances are different, and there's many reasons why one might not be able to uphold a healthy diet or find the time to exercise. A good way to change your habits to improve your health is by starting off with small, achievable goals and not overwhelming yourself. Try to find support in others with similar goals and use online resources to find recipes or workouts that suit your specific situation.
I'm not sure if you noticed the discipline in Chris to create a life of freedom. He is right now living in Bali with his wife and 3 daughters, takes long walks every day, and just found the joys of the ice bath steam alternation, which also happens every day. I know this because we chat regularly. We know he has the methods. What about the motivation? What was it like growing up, Chris?
I think I definitely was more on the straighty 180 side, where it was just like I stuck with it. I did good. I was not good at school at all. And looking back, I would say it's because I was very disinterested in it. And I think there would have been things that happened for example, I remember in primary school, I got put in this like special learning class. It was called Early Birds. And it was like an extra class that you went to before school started, so you could like catch up on things and like go through. You needed extra help. I remember getting put in there and being like, I don't belong in here. Like, this isn't me. Like, I'm not an idiot. Like, I totally remember feeling so just misaligned with what's going on. And it's interesting how vivid this emotion runs through me right now as I say it, because I can feel it just being like, what the fuck am I doing in this classroom? Like, these other dudes are the dummies. Like, I'm not this. And obviously, I mean, the way that I was showing up and acting meant I did deserve to be in that classroom. But deep down, there was something I wanted to push back against that I was just misaligned with. So for me, I was a good boy. I really was, if I could be perfectly honest. And I actually enjoy looking back and thinking that my parents did a fantastic job of raising me. I did struggle with my weight. I was a very overweight kid and teenager as well. And so that was something that was limited me, especially because through my teenage years, my self-esteem was so low because of my weight and how I felt about myself. And it held me back with my sports as well, because I was extremely competitive with sports, played multiple high-level sports, but it never went to the next level. And looking back, I would say it never went to the next level because my physical body was actually not able to let me go to that next level because of that. So it's interesting, the journey that we're all on. And I look back on my journey and I'm like, wow, that's really shaped me to where I am today.
That story made Chris quite emotional. So let's talk about will and the story you tell yourself.
The first way would be the difference between will and the difference between story. And a great example of this that I always enjoy is, say, going out for dinner with a bunch of people. And the first thing that usually happens when you sit down at the table is a bread basket will get thrown down in the middle of the table, right? And then you see people like, no, they won't touch it. Some people will consciously verbalize it. Oh, no, not for me. Do you know what I mean? Some people don't say anything. But what happens is, as you go throughout the night, is willpower gets depleted. And then they put their hand in the bread basket and they eat the bread. Now, it's not bad eating bread. God damn it, I love myself some sourdough with some Vegemite like anyone else, right? However, it's interesting watch when someone's willpower is quite literally getting depleted as they go through the process of just being in front of the thing that they're trying to fight against. So for you, you said will before, Ronsley, which means you're trying to grit your teeth and you're trying to be like, I want to get in shape. I want to become a runner, and you need to do all those things. However, when you changed your story and you simply said to yourself, I am a runner, suddenly willpower becomes obsolete because you woke up, you put your shoes on, and you went out the front door. And that's the difference between getting someone to truly do what they need to do to achieve what they say that they want to achieve, is because if I'm relying on someone to use willpower and grit to just get to the other side, it becomes a game where it gets depleted very easily and there is a high level of failure, where if I can help them change their story, it suddenly becomes, well, that's just what I do. And that's literally a term that I use with myself. It's just what I do. And I will literally sit down, and my goal setting process and what I want to help people go through is, don't tell me your goals and targets and what you want to achieve. You know what I want to know? I want to know what are the labels that you are putting upon yourself. Because when I write, I am a filmmaker. I am healthy and vibrant. I am a loving father. These are things that I just show up as because that is who I am. And so rather than writing, I want to earn $10 million this year, right? Well, then who's the person that you have to become to actually do that? If you want to be able to travel to a city and see the beautiful landscape, see the people, see the culture, and you want to do that because you're running around it, well, then who do you have to become to experience that at the end of the day? And that is where, from a coaching perspective, I want to get down to the brass of actually, no, this is what we need to do to be able to change that story. And when it comes to seeing people on for them, there's two things. One is, as a coach, I need to paint a greater vision for what they have for themselves, most generally. I need to be able to say, this is what's possible for you to be able to achieve, because most people are too closed-minded. For example, one of the questions that new clients get asked when coming on board is, how much money do you want to earn? And I ask it for two reasons. One, let's say someone says, I want to earn $500,000 in a year. My response is going to be, why is it not $1 million a year? Whatever number they say, I'm just going to double it, right? I'm just doubling it for whatever it is. And I go, why do you not want to earn $1 million a year? And they'll be like, okay, $1 million. I'm like, okay, cool.
Did he just double someone's dream annual income just simply by asking them the question? When we come back, the rectal extraction method.
Psychology of entrepreneurship.
The main objective of this audio project is to bring together entrepreneurs and creatives who share similar values so that they can find the courage to put out their authentic voice for the right people to hear, which allows for them to make their impact on the world. Every great movement started with a memorable speech. For access to full-length interviews, go to psychologyofentrepreneurship.com and click the button.
So, before the break, we were talking with Chris Dufey, and he kind of doubled someone's dream annual income just by asking them a question. And then he told me this.
So, firstly, we have just diagnosed that the number you gave me is comes from what I call the rectal extraction method. You've pulled it out of your ass, right? And so what we need to do is two things. We need to, number one, get a clear reason why you want to earn a certain amount of money, okay? And there's a really easy process to go through. But then secondly, me as a business coach, I need to then reverse engineer what is the correct business and business actions to get a business to earn you that amount of money. So it actually becomes very practical. So there is, do you know what I mean, the airy-fairy side of like really dealing with mindset. But then there's also the extremely practical side of like, okay, it's the difference between $100,000 and $1 million. Well, the person earning $1 million doesn't do 10 times more work. It's a different model that the person's working in. And so that's where once people understand that and then can execute upon that, life becomes so much easier.
So, belief systems need to change. Funny, this morning I was on a call with Jim Quick, the author of the book Limitless and advisor to Elon Musk and SpaceX, amongst some incredible human beings. And he spoke about the 3 M's in his book: motivation, methods, and mindset, being the ingredients to becoming limitless. And belief systems is all about our mindset. I wanted you to get a glimpse into the mindset of Chris Dufey. Here, coming up, is that glimpse.
The first thing that comes to my mind is checking in with myself to gauge where I'm at with all the different areas of life, to know, have I been a good husband this week? Have I been a good father this week? Have I been a good team leader for my business, entrepreneurially? What about my friends? Like all these different things. Am I taking care of my health, my happiness, my spirituality? And then first doing okay, this is where I'm at. And therefore having a bit of a diagnosis, I can therefore figure out, well, what is it that I need to do moving forward? Because there's also the case, when you set the speed of soul, the first thing that comes to me, and this is just where I'm at right now with where I'm at in my journey, is the speed of now. Because as much as I want to look ahead and conquer mountains, there is the need to be able to actually sit and just enjoy the moment of now, because that's all we've got. And I found it really hilarious because it was only 2 weeks ago I climbed the volcano here in Bali with a friend. So at 1 o'clock in the morning, we get picked up. At 4 o'clock in the morning, we're starting the trek up the volcano. And it was hilarious because we got to the volcano, we watched this miraculous sunrise that is just awe-inspiring. Like you just feel Mother Nature just like turning on the show for you. And then you look to the right and there's a higher mountain. And it was like, oh, what if we climb that one over there next time? So I found that interesting where that came in. And I saw the thought and I was like, I'm going to enjoy what's going on right now because I don't know when I'm going to die. I might be gone this afternoon, Ronsley. I don't know when the last time of so many things are. And when I sit with well, when's the last time I'm going to kiss my daughter goodnight? When's the last time I'm going to say goodbye and I love you to Ronsley? When's the last time that I'm going to be able to enjoy a sunrise? We start to appreciate the things that really matter because especially when it comes into the psychology of entrepreneurship, the thing that rattles me to the core and that I think speaks so much truth into is money solves money problems. But a calm mind, a healthy body, and a loving household are things you must work for. And that to me just sings to me. And that's where I'm like, a calm mind, do I have a calm mind? Am I able to actually control my thoughts? And am I in the driver's seat here? A healthy body. Am I taking care of my physical vessel that I'm in right now? And a loving household that I feel like extends from not just for me being my 3 daughters and my wife, but also my close friendships, such as yourself, Ronsley, that is a part of my loving household. And is that in order?
The third piece I'm sort of playing with that framework is memento mori. It's like, know you're going to die. And I think that why that matters is because I think right now, and again, real-time framework, I'm thinking the first piece, of course, is to know who you are, right? Know what you want to do, know what principles of life matter to you, what's important to you, know who it is you feel called to serve, know why it is you want to serve that community or that type of person. Be clear on what skills, what talents you have that you can uniquely leverage in the service of that individual.
On the topic of living in the moment and focusing on what you have, did you know that gratitude improves physical health? In an article posted on Forbes, psychotherapist Amy Morin explains that grateful people experience fewer aches and pains and they report feeling healthier than other people. Grateful people are also more likely to take care of their health. They exercise more often and are more likely to attend regular checkups with their doctors, which is likely to contribute to further longevity.
The voice you heard before was Mark Fisher from Volume 19 talking about memento mori. So when you look at Chris, you know that he takes care of his body. Here is why.
So for me, with my taking care of my healthy body, I know that I need to move. I know I need to nourish myself properly. I know I need to rest and recover properly as well. And I've learned, because I was in that game for so long, what really matters and what doesn't matter, and then also learning the intuitive side of things. So I see, especially in the world of, let's say, physique models, fitness models, there are people that know how to get themselves into shape really well, and they're in the world's best shape. You look at their bodies and people are blown away by what they've been able to achieve. This is the difference between an athlete and a coach. There are so many people that can do that, but they can't help someone else do that because ultimately they have great intuition. They're extremely tapped into what it is that they need to be able to do. However, a coach needs to be able to read someone else and be able to look at all the different aspects of what's going on and holistically be able to then communicate the right actions for that person to follow and show them how to do it in an accountable way as well. So I've just been extremely fortunate that that's been a part of my journey. And what's happening really interesting was I was actually in the sauna the other night and this older dude walked in. And when he left, Lauren, my wife, turned around to me and goes, "That's you when you're like 60. And I was like, oh, I love that. This dude was like gray, but just in amazing shape. Like, you just looked at this old dude and you're just like, dude, you look amazing. And his skin and his eyes and his energy was just potent with just energy. It was amazing being like, I was just like, that's so cool. And that's my goal. I want to be, do you know what I mean? A dude that's taking care of my physical body and being able to show up in the best version of my possible self.
Best possible version of myself. Remember at the start, I asked Chris about becoming an entrepreneur and he said something about having faith. Well, here is the elaboration. Chris, what did you mean by faith?
Not from a religious perspective. I'm not religious, but from doing the interviews that I've done for the podcast and for the documentaries, is a word kept coming to me, and it was faith. And it was these people had faith that they would get to the other side. And you don't see where your foot is treading in the next step, but you're taking the next step anyway. And that's where there is an element of faith, and why also the thing that I think is important to bring up for this question is so many people are showcasing and saying that confidence is so important. And I push back against that. And I say, I don't think you saying or you portraying that people need to be confident to do something first to make that happen, because I don't think that's the way it happens. I think somebody needs to be courageous at first to then start taking the steps forward that then will lead to confidence. Ronsley, let me ask you a question. The first time you had sex, were you confident when you got into bed? No, I was shitting myself. God damn it. But you were courageous enough to be like, you got this, Ronsley. Let's have a crack at it. And you did it. When we start our business, am I confident that I can run a business? No, because I've never done. How can you be confident about something you've never done before? Fucking try and answer me that one. Like, riddle me that, because I've got no idea how that comes out at the end of the day. So if somebody can at least have courage to then be able to go, okay, I'm going to have a crack at this. Do I need a stop loss to make sure that the world doesn't fall beneath me if this doesn't pan out the way that I want to? That could be a smart idea. Or is it a case that you do have to burn your ships and go for it? Because for my situation, it was not possible for me to go after the opportunity of building a fitness business in Dubai and still having my ties back in Sydney, Australia. It didn't work. And so therefore I had to make that decision. And I'm fortunate that it worked out.
Psychology of entrepreneurship.
Coming up on the psychology of entrepreneurship.
I'm Trevinia Barber, and I am a mom, and I am a business owner that is embracing everything light and dark about her to be a better person and to make a better impact on the world. It's hard to turn that to yourself, right? To look into the mirror and realize that sometimes the best way that we could serve is to serve ourselves. I still have a platform. I still have a responsibility to use it well. I guess my question is what's the motivating factor for change? Is it awareness or is it shame? Being ashamed isn't going to solve anything. I think action is what will solve things.
Psychology of entrepreneurship.
I interviewed Chris Dufey because he is featured as an expert on Entrepreneur, MSN, CNBC, and recently recognized as a top young entrepreneur in Dubai, and is the creator of The Chris Dufey Show. He has authored multiple books and is a filmmaker, currently living between Bali, Australia and LA with his daughters and wife. He is an entrepreneur, a cookie lover, and a dear, dear friend.
Psychology of entrepreneurship.
This is a Must Amplify production. Special thanks to every guest expert that has appeared on the show. Voiceovers, editing, and sound design by Kaylee Bonnyman. Guest research and content by Claire Gould and Corinne Castles. Project managed by Kaylee Bonnyman. Produced and hosted by me, Ronsley Vaz. For more episodes and where to listen, go to mustamplify.com/POE.
Hey, it's Kaylee from Must Amplify. I'm the sound engineer for this volume of Psychology of Entrepreneurship. I'm part of the team that made this production come alive. I work as a part of a global team with our studios based in West End, Brisbane, Australia. If you would like a podcasting checklist, email me at kaylee@amplifyagency.media. That's KAILI@amplifyagency.media. We specialize in finding your voice and making sure it's heard by the right people. If you are considering whether a podcast is a good idea for your business, check out our other show on shouldistartapodcast.com. Are you still listening? Here's a little gift to you for sticking around.
Were you always this chiseled? I don't like that word chisel. So, Chris, what was your relationship with food growing up? No, yeah, I'm going to say that. Chris, when we come back, the rectal extraction method.